Hello, my name is Eve Canavan. I am the co-founder and national coordinator of Maternal Mental Health Awareness Week for the Perinatal Mental Health Partnership. This year we are celebrating year 8 of the Awareness Week, which I'm so proud of because it's such a passion project of mine. 14 years ago, I gave birth to my lovely son, Joe. He was a much longed for baby. I have a very rare womb condition, which meant that I'd had 4 pregnancies before my son was here, and they had never come to fruition. So having Joe was the greatest joy of my life. Unfortunately, as I gave birth to my son, I developed a really rare condition called postpartum psychosis. It affects around 1 in every few thousand mums, and it comes after you give birth, and you can experience mania, hallucinations, delusions. Within 3 hours of giving birth to my son, what I thought I would feel, what I told I'd feel, a deep love, feeling like it was the greatest thing that I'd ever done, the biggest joy in my life. I experienced very, very, very different symptoms. I felt when I looked at my son, I didn't feel connected with him at all. When he was around 5 hours old, I realised that I didn't feel like I wanted to look at him. When he was about a day old, I started looking at the windows in the hospital, seeing bars on them and wondering, how would I climb out of the window in order to escape my son? Because I don't think I want to be around him. During my pregnancy, all I'd ever been told was that when I had my baby, I'd finally have the gift that I wanted. Yet within just a few hours of giving birth, it was a very, very different reality. I remember my mum coming to see me in the postnatal ward after I had Joe, and instead of coming in and going, "Where's the baby? Where's my grandson?" which I expected her to do, she walked in and said, "Evelyn, what is wrong with your face? You look like a zombie. You look zoned out." And she said to the nurse on the postnatal ward, "Is Evelyn okay?" The nurse said, "Oh, she's had a cesarean. She's had quite a lot of medication. She's probably quite groggy." And my mum shook her head and said, "No, Evelyn doesn't look right. Something doesn't look right with her." And she was completely right. When we arrived home from hospital, I realised that my reality, the thing that I was going to be so excited about, was completely different to everything that I'd hoped for. I realised that I was scared of my baby. I couldn't put my finger on why, but I realised I was terrified by his very presence. Something in my mind told me on a loop constantly that now he was here forever, my life was over. I had an overwhelming feeling of anxiety about living the rest of my life being responsible for another human being. The very feeling that I would have to look after somebody forever, to keep them alive, to ensure they live a good life so that they one day could maybe become a parent themselves, was so overwhelming to me. I felt like I couldn't cope. The fear of something being there forever was a feeling that made me feel like I was trapped in my life, trapped in my role as a parent, trapped in my own brain, which I found terrifying because I felt like when you feel like you're trapped in your own brain, you can't escape from yourself. And then I felt like I was trapped in the world. Over the weeks that passed, until Joe was around 6 weeks, I was experiencing vivid hallucinations. I would look at the sky and say to my husband, "I feel like I can't breathe. I feel like I'm being stifled by the clouds. I wonder if I could climb up to the clouds and if I could cut the clouds up with scissors, and then I'd be in space, and then I might be able to breathe then." Then the very idea of space being never ending overwhelmed me because then I thought I can never get out of anything. I'm trapped in absolutely everything. Postpartum psychosis is terrifying. I felt like I couldn't be near my baby. I couldn't look at him. And I was having these feelings of wanting to escape in any way that I possibly could. My husband took me to the doctor almost every day for the first 6 weeks of Joe's life. We were dialing the NHS, we were going to casualty, we were going to doctors, we were having health visitors visit us, with my husband saying something is very, very wrong with Eve. I was told that maybe I was heavily sleep deprived, that I should get some sleep and things would get better. Things didn't get better at all. And when Joe was 6 weeks old, I had an enormous meltdown, and declared that that was the day that I couldn't live any longer. I wasn't able to live my life any longer. My husband was so distressed, he phoned a charity who support women after having a baby with low mood and said, "What do I do? No one is listening to me. No one is supporting us. Eve is really unwell." They said, "Take her down to A&E, get her assessed by a psychiatrist. Don't leave until somebody assesses her." And then so for the first time in all of those 6 weeks, a psychiatrist saw me, listened to my symptoms, spent an hour with me, and he said to me, "You're really, really poorly, Eve. I think you have postpartum psychosis." I was admitted at that point to a psychiatric mother and baby unit, a specialist inpatient unit with around 8 beds, where you go with your baby to recover. The idea of that terrified me because I didn't like being around Joe. I was so incredibly frightened of him, and I found that he would be in my room with me when I was in the unit. But a nurse sat outside my office, my bedroom, excuse me, for 5 days, with the door open, so I felt safe and that I wasn't on my own with Joe. After those 5 days, though, I did something which I never thought I'd do, and at this point I had started on medication. I'd started to have talking therapy. I closed the door and was with my baby for just a few seconds on my own, and that was the biggest turning point in my recovery. I was discharged from the mother and baby unit a little while after, and had home care. So I would have a nurse come to see me at home every day in my periods of recovery, and I was given tasks to do. I had to build up spending an hour on my own with Joe, 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day, to get to the point where I was able to come back to London, because I'd been placed in a mother and baby unit in Nottingham, to come back to London where I could be on my own with my baby all the time. After a few months, I went back to work, and things started to get much better. I was very, very well. I was living a life with Joe. I was still medicated, which I was fine about, because I realised that helped me live a happy life. But then I started to really feel like I wanted to do something with my experience. I felt so alone with postpartum psychosis. No one had told me about it. During the antenatal lessons, no one had said anything to me about what happens if something dramatic like this happens to you after you have a baby. And I so wish someone had said something, however small, something about what to do and who can help you when this happens to you. So when Joe was around 4 years old, I went on Twitter and I said, I've had this illness after having a baby. Has anyone else? I'd like to meet other people who have gone through it and who've recovered. I think I'd like to do something to help other people see they can recover. And I met a whole raft of women who'd been through perinatal mental illness who wanted to kind of join this fight with me. We came up with an idea to say that we wanted to create an awareness campaign, to give people information on perinatal mental illness and where they can go to seek support. And that was in 2014. We spent 3 years planning it, and in 2017, we launched the first ever Maternal Mental Health Awareness Week. We did it with absolutely no funding, with absolutely no knowledge of what we were doing, but knowing that we had the passion of supporting women and families to know they'd get better. I'm so delighted to say that we're now in year 8. We are such a respected organisation and we provide free support to people all over the country. Maternal Mental Health Week takes place during the first week of May every year, and we are supported by a raft of national and international organisations to get information out to families about how they can recover and get support for perinatal mental illness. During Maternal Mental Health Awareness Week, we run around 20 webinars and information sessions on all kinds of things. Things such as, what are intrusive thoughts after you have a baby? What medications can you take while breastfeeding? What is perinatal OCD? What is postnatal depression? What's birth trauma? What are the different kinds of therapies that you can go to support your recovery? Support for dads, support for all different kinds of families, support from healthcare professionals. How do you access it? How to talk about the symptoms that are scaring you? We try to create a free, open and simple resource over the week so people know that they can click on something, see things that matter to them, and then think, I am going to get better one day. We've had such wonderful feedback from mums, dads, families, parents, grandparents and healthcare professionals that the week is a beacon, a hub of information for them to get the message out that you can and do get better. Postpartum psychosis for me was the single most terrifying thing I've ever endured. But recovery is completely possible. I'm here with my 14-year-old son, and the experience that I had while working in it, I don't think about my personal experience every day. It is firmly in the past, but it has given me a passion to help women and families going forward, to show them that they can and do get better as well. Please do join in the Awareness Week. We are so delighted with how it's growing from strength to strength. Talk about it in your workplaces, talk about it at home, talk about it with your healthcare professionals. And if you're watching this and you feel like you are struggling yourself, please know there is light at the end of the tunnel. You can and do get better. Look at me and know that one day that will be you. Thank you.